breakdown of the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow that close to being a Super Bowl champion, but the Rams proved that they had the better defense, and they made the drive when they needed to. They take home the Super Bowl. The second year in a row, the home team of the Super Bowl wins the Super Bowl, so maybe that's going to start a new trend. TK will break down a little bit of the Phoenix Open for those that enjoy watching carnival golf. That's what it was over the weekend. A lot of fun over there. Unfortunately, the Phoenix Open didn't finish till after the kickoff of the Super Bowl due to the playoff to decide the winner there. First off, TK, I know we were excited about this Super Bowl. It lived up to all the hype.
Yeah, 7 straight NFL playoff games that go down to the wire. Biggest margin was 7 points. So I mean, the NFL got it right as far as competition and close games and keeping the audience for all 4 quarters, the whole bit. It was another remarkable finish. So many storylines out of the game. And, Ronnie, you and I talked about it. Can the Bengal offensive line block the Rams? And that ended up kind of being the difference. The game won or lost on the line of scrimmage. And, Bengals had a chance late, didn't get it done. That's the way it goes. And the Rams, for the first time since 1999, are Super Bowl champions.
I thought the story for a lot of the game was how good the Cincinnati defense played. They looked horrible in the first half against the Chiefs. They looked fantastic in the second half against the Chiefs. And for much of the game, that's what we saw from the Bengals was this defense that kind of kept them in it. Neither offense was really clicking at all. But then, when 2 things happened. When Odell Beckham got hurt, when he was running a crossing route and he hurt his knee and was out for the game, and we don't know yet the severity of that injury, but I would be willing to bet it's some sort of ACL or PCL or something, because those types of non-contact injuries usually lend themselves to not being very good, and he couldn't put any weight on it really. So you're looking at when that happened, I thought, okay, the under is good for the game, which it did hit the under, because then the Rams offense started looking clunky and they didn't have a really good second option other than Kupp. And so I was like, okay, Bengals now have a chance, but more importantly, the over-under is probably going to be the under now. But then when Joe Burrow got hurt and he grimaced and limped off the field and all that sort of stuff, and who knows if they shot him up, taped him up, whatever they did on that knee, but you knew that was also going to limit his mobility and escapability and the things that he possesses. So then your under was really safe for you gamblers out there, but it also hurt his opportunity to get anything done on offense, because that Rams defensive line that we talked about for 2 weeks, we knew it was going to show up. It did. They had 5 sacks, and including
7.
What's that?
7 sacks.
They had 7 sacks.
Tied the Super Bowl record.
There you go. I stopped counting, I guess, at some point. But they had 7 sacks in the game, including the last one, which probably should have been a sack, right, where Joe Burrow just threw it up there at the end. They became dominant. Joe couldn't do anything about it physically to escape those. And that was the difference in the game. Did you agree with Kupp being the MVP? Did you think that was a right call?
No, absolutely not. Should have been Stafford. And here's the problem. I heard this on the Dan Patrick this morning, Dan Patrick show. They required MVP voters to turn in their votes before the 2-minute warning. Okay. So, I'm thinking it's going to be Stafford, because he did throw for 3 touchdowns, including the one, down near the end of the game. Or co-MVP with Donald, because he was such a dominant force on the defensive line and the pressure on Burrow. So I didn't agree with Kupp being the MVP. I think he was surprised to get it. You could tell by his reaction. I thought it should have been Stafford, but it's not. And Ronnie, in today's modern world technology, don't cast your votes until – because here's the other thing, Ronnie.
That's what I was thinking.
What if the Bengals kick a field goal? It's 23 up, and we go to overtime. Right. Now the whole MVP story, it could be a lot of people, that do something spectacular. So that's stupid by the NFL to do that, but it's what they do. And to answer your question, I thought Stafford should have been the MVP.
By the way, right, I agree with you. I was thinking that the whole time, why do we have to vote so soon? And I'm sure they would have absolutely switched the MVP had the Bengals won the game. There's no way they would have given it to Cup. And
Yeah,
then the other thing And then the other thing is, what isn't there an app for everything? I mean, can't we have an NFL media app? You log in with your username and password. You got approval, whatever. Send an email, whatever. There's something that can automatically tally the votes nowadays, other than a handwritten ballot and a bunch of interns going around scooping them up. So I think that's kind of silly. But anyway, to us it doesn't matter. But obviously, to those guys, there's incentives and record books. But I'm okay with it because I think he truly deserves it. I would have given it to Stafford personally because of that 15-play drive and to win the game. But everybody in the stadium knew who they were going to throw the football to, and they couldn't stop it. And that's Connor Cup gets credit for that.
Well,
without Odell Beckham, there wasn't a great second option. And on that drive, he got 4 completions, including the game winner, when he was being double teamed and held and everything else.
Well, I'm not saying Cup, didn't have a great game or wasn't a key factor, a huge factor. But again, if I'd have had a vote, it went to Matthew Stafford. But I guess that's why they get a bunch of people to vote and go from there,
Yeah, you see Champ saying, Cup should have been the league MVP, over, I guess, Aaron Rodgers. Also, Chance is saying you can't give the MVP to somebody who had 2 interceptions. And I get that he had the 2 picks, but you come down to that drive to win it all. You had to have a touchdown, and he got one. Flip the coin. I'm good with co-MVPs, by the way, at some point. They don't do that enough. I like that. I think that can be a good thing.
Well, and when they're going to change it to offensive MVP and defensive MVP? What's the crime in that?
Cup just finished, not even arguably, finished the greatest year of any wide receiver from a standpoint of what he did with catches and yards, and he led the NFL in those categories. And then he's just at he MVP and the Super Bowl champ. Like, his combined total yards, Tommy, between regular season and postseason is like 500 yards more than anybody else that's ever played the game. I mean, and for a guy from Eastern Washington, the school with the ugly red turf, where he went to college, it's just absolutely incredible. He was a star among stars. And look, if you're Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you can take a little something out of watching, Cup there in the second half. Without Odell Beckham, he still figured out a way to get the football and win the game because, Cup's going to be double teamed all the time. Chase is going to be double teamed all the time, and you still got to figure out a way to get those guys the football.
Well, and Cup coming out of high school was 0 stars, Ronnie. He was not even rated. And then he goes to Eastern Washington, which is where Colin Cowherd went, by the way. And now he's the Super Bowl MVP. They'll never take that away from him, whether you agree with it or not. That's what it was. So
yeah, and Cup's grandfather was a Saint. Yeah, that is true. He played in the first Saints team back in the 60s. All right, so the great thing about this game, Tommy, is that it came down to it. If the defense at any point in time makes a stop, then we're talking today about Joe Burrow being the MVP. I thought Joe Burrow played a good game. He didn't turn the football over. He had a touchdown. He, was over 60%, around 60% completions. He did what he could, considering he was harassed, had the 7 sacks and everything else.
Well, and I thought this during the game, and it's easy to say this on Monday morning, but I don't think they threw the ball vertically enough. There was too much to the sides and parallel passes. Now, I realize they wanted to get the ball out of his hand because of the pass rush. I get it. But you thought they could, because a couple of times they tried to go vertical. It was successful. To Higgins for the big touchdown, which, by the way, my free pick on Sports Shorts Radio was the touchdown play over 42.5 yards. So got that right. And then you had the big play to Chase when he almost scored, but then they scored right after that. So, but again, it's easy for me to say that Monday morning. And look, and everybody's saying it, okay? If the Bengals shore up the offensive line, they got a chance to, get back to the Super Bowl. There's no guarantee of that. Ask Dan Marino. So, we'll just have to wait and see the offseason for the Bengals. And then, of course, all the stuff for Andrew Whitworth was great. And, and for him to win a Super Bowl, he'll probably retire. And then I got to get on Michelle Tafoya to ask Aaron Donald, are you going to retire? In the interview that's taking place when the confetti's falling, she's better than that. She should not have done that at that spot, okay, in my opinion, because they had just won the Super Bowl. She's a lot better than that. She's leaving NBC, but that was a mistake on her part, in my opinion.
Well, then, I mean, everybody asked them that. I mean, like when you saw the ESPN interviews on the field, too. I mean,
that's because of Rodney Harrison. Rodney Harrison started it in the pregame show with his nonchalant comment about, and if he wins, he's probably going to retire. And he kind of deadpanned it, but then everybody took it and ran. But I don't think it should have been asked by her to him when the confetti's falling on his head. And he's talking about his family and how he promised his daughter he'd win a Super Bowl. I mean, save that question for today or tomorrow, in my opinion.
What's interesting is that I'm looking up Aaron Donald. He was a first-round draft pick in 2014. Like,
8 years.
Are we really going to retire? Are we really going to retire?
He's been All-Pro 7 times, not Pro Bowl. It's better to be All-Pro. Come out of Pitt, and
he is arguably the greatest defensive lineman of all time.
Well, and I think he's up there. I think Rodney Harrison, it's his fault for starting the whole thing, unless he spoke to Aaron Donald, and I don't know the answer to that.
By the way, even Chance here on one of our loyal watchers was talking about the officials. There was a lot of talk that, by the way, the game was over by 9 o'clock. This was a quick game, because there weren't a lot of whistles. Even with the long halftime, it moved. The ball stayed in play. There was a lot of sacks. The clock was running. I didn't feel like the officials were were wrong. When they showed those replays. Matter of fact, there was a lot of times they could have thrown penalties, including the one where the face mask was done on the long touchdown call. But the point is that at the end of the game, yes, there weren't a lot of flags thrown per se, and then at the end of the game there's penalties and at crucial times of the game. So I didn't think the officials did anything wrong. I don't think they rigged anything. I don't think it was controversial. You watched, Eli Apple, did hold. Yes, there was a targeting deal. Yes, there was a hold on the offense. Like the flags were deserved in those situations. Did you have an issue with any of the officials?
Obviously missed the face mask on the Higgins touchdown, okay, and but that's not a reviewable play. They can't go, because they could find stuff like that on every replay review. The call on the linebacker, he pulled his jersey and he actually stopped Kupp's momentum a little bit, in my opinion.
Right, he did.
But okay, I'll split hairs here. Aaron Donald took his helmet off at the end of that last play. That should have been a 15-yard penalty, first down Bengals. You're not supposed to take your helmet off on the field. He did after Burrow tried to get the ball to Piron or whoever that was. That should have been a penalty, but nobody talked about that. The game was over, but if that's a penalty, Bengals ball, with a field goal opportunity.
Yeah, but is that change of possession? Is it after the play? The play's already dead.
It turned over on downs, but still, you can't take your helmet off.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if it was a penalty, shouldn't have just backed up the ball for the Rams?
I think it would have been an automatic first down.
But I'm saying he took it. He did it after the play was dead. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think
it was dead.
After the play, unsportsmanlike penalty.
We've seen guys score a touchdown.
You're not going to give the ball back to the other team after the play.
I've seen guys score a touchdown, pull their helmet off in the end zone, and get flagged.
But they don't give. It's still a touchdown, Tom.
Yeah,
it's the same as what happened to the.
Okay, you're saying the Rams could have snapped it from 15 yards further back.
Right.
Yeah, well, then it wouldn't have mattered. Okay, and I'm splitting hairs there. I had the Bengals in 4. I'm good. Now, I had a big bet on the money line, and then I hedged it, like I told you, with the 4 points. By the way, Meat and Potatoes USA 4-0 with the picks this weekend. So Trey Blossman had a teaser that hit, and Stephen, Anthony, and I all had the Bengals +4, but we didn't discuss that in advance. Picks get turned in, and I don't know what they're picking. They don't know what I'm picking. So we went 4-0 at meatandpotatoesusa.com, and we are ready for March Madness over there.
Yeah, I actually was able to get it on game day at 4.5, and for about 2 minutes, it jumped to 5. The Bengals were a 5 point. We're getting 5 for a minute, and then a few hours before kickoff, it was 4.5. So the money was coming in on the Rams for sure. But the Bengals ended up covering. I did the same as you, Tommy. I hedged my money line, so I pushed on my bet there. But I lost on a bunch of squares and a bunch of other crap. I didn't do well on any. I just needed one more field goal. I had over under 2.5 field goals for the Bengals. They were sitting on 2. I'm thinking that at any point in time they're going to kick a third field goal, and unfortunately could never get the ball back, including at the very end there. Bengals have the ball near midfield. It's 2nd and 1, Tommy. They don't get a first down. That was a killer. I thought for sure they were going to get off a long field goal opportunity and just squandered it there. Plenty of time, 2nd and 1. They take the long shot down the sidelines. They don't get the third down. And then when they go 4th and 1 and they go shotgun, oof. It's unbelievable that 4th and 1 is a shotgun play these days. You don't line up on the center.
Yeah, that was a little bit. Go ahead. I got the burning question for you, Ronnie. Okay, and I can't believe you hadn't brought it up yet. I think we're going to be the halftime show. I want your thoughts. I didn't watch it. Okay, actually, I had it on, but I muted it. Okay, but I was doing other stuff, so I just wasn't glued to it. Right after halftime, most of the stuff I saw on Twitter was favorable. People loved it. They thought it was great. Then you had people saying it was awful, it was terrible. I guess it depends on how old you are. Because they said if you were born before 1970 and after 95, you hated that show. That's what I saw. Now today, there's a lot more negative comments about the show and the inappropriate things that little girls might have saw. Yeah, but I want your thoughts because you're more of a music guy than me. Your thoughts on the Super Bowl halftime show.
So a couple of things. One, it's a taste thing. It really is more than an age. Yeah, sure, older people are not going to like hip hop and rap as much. But first off, the kids, and when I say the kids, I'm talking under 25. They didn't necessarily love it either because those are old people halftime, rappers and all that. But it's just a taste thing. If you'd have had a bunch of, if you'd have had a bunch of rock bands from the 70s and 80s, then you'd have had another segment of people that wouldn't like the halftime show. So if you're into that kind of music, and there's a part of me that is, a part of me that isn't. I remember going to see Mary J. Blige, who was the female singer. I saw her in concert in the 90s with TLC and Bobby Brown. So I enjoy that kind of stuff. It was neat seeing Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, who they are West Coast music, right? They came out with the Chronic album in the early 90s. It was the biggest selling album of all time, in that genre. So, it was fitting for those guys to be at halftime because they represent California. Kendrick Lamar, and he's more newer, not necessarily my cup of tea. Eminem, didn't know he was alive. Good to see him again, being relevant. 50 Cent looked like Dollar Bill. He's swole up. He needs to get bigger pants and a shirt. I think he's still wearing the same stuff from 20 years ago, and he's gained 30 pounds. But it didn't bother me. I'm not one that has a strong reaction to the halftime shows, Tom, because I enjoy creativity and music and different genres and artistry. And hey, what are they going to come up with this year? Remember last year, The Weeknd performed at halftime and they recorded it from the day before when the stadium was empty and he had his head wrapped in an ace bandage and all that kind of stuff. Didn't bother me. I'm sure it freaked out a lot of other people. So I'm a little more open-minded than most when it comes to my music and stuff like that. So for me, I give it a C+, B- was my takeaway.
All right. Well, I see Rachel's comment there. Yes, Rachel, I am old. Okay, I'm the oldest dude on TikTok, so that's a given. But no, hey, I get it. No matter what they do at halftime, it's not gonna please everybody. I get that. But me, I muted it, heated me up a couple of little pieces of pork tenderloin, and I was good.
When I
saw about the kickoff, I put the volume back on.
What was funny was I didn't love what was funny was I was at the Super Bowl where the Saints were in it, right? And their halftime show was The Who. And, that halftime show for those that weren't Saints fans or Colts fans wasn't very memorable. The Who was, old then, is old now. And, probably had a lot of songs that some people didn't know. But being there in that stadium and being caught up in the atmosphere and the excitement of the game, and of course the Saints were in it, so you were even more pumped. It was awesome. The halftime show was awesome. But to be at home in Iowa watching the halftime show, not having a rooting interest really for either team other than looking for a good game and a good halftime show, it was probably disappointing. So I think it all a little bit depends on your perspective. I want to give a shout out to Mama Janet breaking down the game here for us. Said the Bengals' first mistake was early in the game when they went for it on 4th down at midfield and didn't make it. Then LA went down and scored. Yeah, that's a good takeaway. I don't know why the Bengals felt the sense of urgency in the first quarter to go do something like that when – don't you see your defense is playing well. It is the Super Bowl. Let's not be too much of a risk taker there. And you're right. I would much rather make Matthew Stafford go 75, 80 yards than, make him go, 50. And that's what they did.
Yeah. So, hey, it is what it is. My wild prediction that I gave out, Ronnie, you ready for this? I didn't say this on Sports Church Radio, but I told a bunch of people Saturday night, my wild prediction was that Joe Mixon would throw a touchdown pass to Jamar Chase. Well, Mixon threw a touchdown, but it didn't go to Chase. It went to Higgins. So,
why? What did you thought that was coming?
Because I saw this stat that Jamar Chase has got 37 touchdowns in his career at LSU and the NFL, and every one of them was thrown by Joe Burrow. So I just said, I'm going to go with a wrinkle. Plus, Mixon was a quarterback in high school. But that touchdown he threw was the first time he threw a pass in the NFL.
Chance wants to discuss how horrible Eli Apple is. And let me say this about Eli Apple. It's easy to bang on him, because, he hasn't been a great player, although he's talented enough to stick around and make an NFL career out of it. He's a former first-round pick. But Kupp is going to make everybody look bad, first off, okay? And if you're one-on-one with Kupp, you're going to lose. And two, yeah, I get that we hate him because he made some snide comments about the city of New Orleans and the Saints or whatever. So, okay, we can bang on Eli Apple, but at the end of the day, when you're down there near the goal line and you're one-on-one with Kupp, and I don't understand. I guess we can't bang on Eli Apple too bad, Tommy. He must be the best they have because they put him on Kupp when the game's on the line. Ain't anybody else any better that they felt? Because why wouldn't they put somebody else on Kupp instead of Eli Apple? But clearly they don't have anybody better, so he's not that terrible.
No, they're running him out there because he's the best they got to put him out there in that situation, Ronnie, guys are going to get burned. He was covering a guy that was named MVP. The guy's got more yards than all kind of people, So, it's going to happen. It's an offensive game. Stafford threw a heck of a pass on that play. When you look at the replay, it was in the spot where Kupp could get it. Nobody else. By the way, on our show promo that I put on social media this morning, I have that picture of Kupp catching that pass. So that was pretty cool. But anyway,
I'll say this: one of the plays that we haven't talked about that was a giant play, and Mama Janet brought up the whole going for it on 4th and 1, at midfield in the first quarter there. That the Bengals made that mistake, didn't get it, and then ended up giving a short field for a score. Okay, that's one that was a difference maker in the game in the first half. Obviously, the injuries to Odell Beckham Jr. and to Joe Burrow affected their teams and what they could do offensively, no question about that. But the Boyd drop with 6.5 to play on 3rd down, wide receiver for the Bengals, he's running that slant. Burrow puts it right on him. His momentum's going to take him clearly past the line to gain, and the clock's going to keep running, and the Bengals are going to be near midfield with 6 and change to play, probably going to be able to, again, run that clock down, if anything, to, probably 4.5 at minimum, something like that. Even if they got to punt it, they're going to be able to punt it. I think if they get that first down, Tommy, it's likely that they go on at least get a field goal and then go up 7, okay? And that drop was just unbelievable. This is a guy who literally has not dropped the pass the entire season, and it hits him right in the numbers, the greatest, easiest pass ever, and he drops it. And and it changed you just know in this game when you're facing good teams, when you give teams the opportunity to, ooh, you gave me that opportunity. You didn't score Kansas City before halftime on the 1 yard line. Boom, it changes the game. Same thing here. Boyd drops that ball, Tommy, and the whole direction of the game changed. And there were plenty of time for the Rams, and they went down and won the game.
It was certainly a key play, especially when it occurred. I mean, if that happens in the first quarter, we're not talking about it. But, you get paid to catch the ball right there. He dropped that one. He didn't want to drop it, but he did. And it was a good throw by Burrow. One of the few times he had a half a second to get rid of it. And it was a key, no doubt about it.
I don't understand with today's day and age when you practice so much and you have those gloves, those stick-em gloves that are, you can pretty much catch anything one-handed with those things. How drops like that even happen? I mean, it's just.
I think he took his eyes off the ball. He
felt
the pressure to safety about to light him up. Because even on Chase's long play, he caught that ball with one hand. His left hand never touched that ball till after he rolled on the ground. I mean, and that I don't know how many people who are watching us have ever seen or touched the actual gloves that they use in the NFL. It makes Velcro look smooth. Okay, I mean, I've seen them, touched them in the Saints facility. I'm like you. How can you drop the ball?
That catch that Jamar Chase made early on, the long pass, that second gear he threw into once he saw the ball and then ran away from Ramsey, like just kicked it in, was incredible. I mean, that second gear was just – and then to make the one-handed catch because he's trying to kick it into second gear and get there was – oh, man, that dude.
That's why he's the rookie of the year.
But I agree with this. As good as the Bengals are, and they're to be proud of their season, and obviously they ended some long streaks of not winning playoff games and hadn't been to the Super Bowl since the '80s and all that. 0-3 now in Super Bowls, or the Bengals. I don't know that Joe Burrow's ever going to get back. As great as he is, and as great as Jamar Chase is, the AFC is just not fair. It's not fair right now. With what you've got to go through to get to the Super Bowl, all the teams you have to beat and all the talent. And we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers go to Denver yet. As soon as that deal happens, it gets even harder and more difficult. So, my goodness, let's hope it's not a Dan Marino situation for Joe Burrow when he went to the Super Bowl in his second year and never went again. But if you can understand where it might be just because of all the tough teams that are out there. There you go. Hopefully that's not the case, but it could be.
Yeah, it very well could be. But I think the Bengals, they know they got some things they got to fix. They got a lot of young, really good players with Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Mixon and a couple of them guys, linebackers on defense. Pratt, he's pretty good. So I mean, they know what they got, and everybody's kind of banging on the offensive line. Well, that offensive line got to the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs only sacked Burrow once. And that may be a testament to how good the Rams' defensive front was, which is what people talked about for 2 weeks. So, they got to clean up a few things. And Joe Burrow said after the game, said, hey, this hurts. It's disappointing, but it's going to make us better going forward. And, and they will. The mindset when the Bengals report to fall camp will be significantly different than it was when they got there last July. I can assure you that.
What was your takeaway of Joe Burrow's get-up, his suit and hat and everything?
Well, we probably got paid a lot of money to wear that. Somebody said he's taken over for Cam Newton with the goofy clothes.
It really did look very Cam Newton-y. I got to be honest with you.
I mean, look, Ryan,
I don't mind Joe, but I didn't like that outfit.
I didn't like it. It draws attention to yourself. It's a team game. I'm old school with all that. Rachel was talking about earlier about how old I am, but I just, but that's all part of the pomp and the glitter and all of that of a Super Bowl. They're going to see who's wearing what when they come into the game, especially if you're Joe Burrow. And I mean, how many times they show Stafford's wife in the stand? I mean, come on. All of that kind of aggravates me a little bit, but I realize it's part of it, and I'm old, and maybe young people like to see that. But to answer your question, it was very Cam Newton-like, and I'm not sure that's a good thing, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't mind him try. I know he tries stuff and all, but it was eerily like Cam Newton. Like, well, where did this come from? All his other stuff was kind of his own style and taste, and some of it was gimmicky, and some of it was a nod to years past. This one was like, okay, this was very much like you went into Cam's closet and took out some stuff, but whatever.
Well, then they kept saying it's Tiger Stripes. Wouldn't it be Bengal Stripes? I mean, doesn't he play for the Bengals?
Okay. Right. Hey, you went Saturday night. You got a chance to go with a lot of people to go have steaks with the LSU baseball team and stuff at a little private team tradition that they do every year. What was your takeaway of that event?
It was a wonderful time. It was fantastic. All the LSU players were there in their little white polos with LSU baseball. I spoke to Jason Kelly a good bit. I spoke to Jay Johnson briefly. Of course, he was making the rounds. It was an excellent crowd, and food was great. The chef, David, did a wonderful job with the steaks. And when you're cooking for 150, 180 people, however many were there, it's not easy, but everything was really, really good. I sat with Coach Bertman and his wife, Miss Sandy, and a couple other people at the table with us, Richard Lipsy and Norman Dumite. We had a powerful table. I don't know what the hell I was doing there, Ronnie, but yeah, it was a fun
Did somebody
night.
Give you their plate?
No.
I need some more.
No, it was really Dan Canterbury was at the table with his friends. So, it was a fun night. A lot of baseball, a lot of fun talk, and it was really cool. And Billy and Janice Guitro, the hosts, were just fantastic.
And then also you got to see an LSU basketball win. Tigers pick up a victory on the hoops on the hardwood.
You know what's funny about that? They went up like 12 in the first half, and everybody at our table, Cuz was at our table too. Everybody's like, oh, don't worry, they'll let Mississippi State back in it. Sure enough, they did, but they win. Didn't cover the 5.5 point spread, but they won the game. It was a much-needed win. First time they won back-to-back games in a while. So that was good. Yeah, and in fact, I'll tell you what, the LSU baseball players, like every time the Tigers would get a dunk, they were going crazy. I mean, it was kind of cool to see that old, rah-rah atmosphere a little bit with baseball players cheering for basketball players. That was a cool part of the party the other night, too.
Also, the LSU women's basketball team, they got a big win as well. They continue to roll on. So, hoops, why were there Baylor fans there?
Because she used to coach at Baylor. Game was at
A&M.
I mean,
like they weren't playing Baylor.
They were at A&M. There's a lot of Baylor.
Oh, so a lot of them drove down. Okay.
Yeah, from Waco to to College Station. I don't know how far that is, but
probably a lot of Baylor alums, I guess, in the area.
But hey, they were down at half and won the game. And they were on the road. So Kim Mulkey continues to roll it. In fact, you were a topic, Ronnie, at the dinner table the other night because I told Coach Bertman about the text you got. And he thought that was wonderful. I mean, he told like everybody in the room, like he was going to other tables and tell people, "Hey, let me tell you about this text Rants guy."
Well, I don't think I was the only one. I think
you want to tell everybody what it was.
Well, so yeah, Kim Mulkey. I got a text from Kim Mulkey last week, and it was after they won. After they won, I think at Ole Miss or something, and she was just asking. She just said, "Hey, have you?" Someone was asking me, "Have you been to a game yet this year?" Or something like that, whatever. She went on to say something else, and I said, yeah, I went to the South Carolina game, the South Carolina women's basketball game, but that's the only one I've been to. And then I said something else about her season, and she said, oh, well, great, thanks, glad you came. I'll let them know that you came. Listen, we got 3 more at home coming up, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure she was going through her phone and just texting people that she couldn't remember necessarily seeing them at the game, and just trying to draw up interest and a little more support for the last 3 home games of the year. And I will go to the last one. I looked at the calendar. I can make the last home game of the year, so I'm definitely going to be going to that. But Kim, and I heard this about her too in the fall. When she walks out on that court, a half hour before, 15 minutes before, whatever, she's kind of walking around, taking inventory, looking to see, okay, who do I see? Who do I know? So she's on it, man. She's fully aware. Hey, let's get some people in here. There's a lot of people that I know, a lot of friends of mine, a lot of people that I know that said they're coming. I want to see them. And so she's taking notice.
Well, Skip made sure everybody at the party knew that you got the text.
That's great.
That was like a thing. Like that was his thing, you know.
But by the way, that's something that he would have done.
Yeah, well, no, he when I told him about it when we were doing the radio Saturday, he said, "Oh, that's great." He said, "That's excellent," you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, he knows.
If there was something if they had text
working.
messaging,
just like he knew how to do it. He didn't have text messaging in the '80s, but he knows that that's what you do to build the great program. And it was just he was very impressed by it that Kim Mulkey did it.
Also, Chance saying Mulkey gave out 200 king cakes before the game to LSU and Baylor people that were at the Texas A&M game. That's pretty cool. Yeah, she's taking a page out of old Coach Bertman's 1980s market and Dale Brown's 70s marketing plan in a big way. No doubt about it. She's not taking for granted just winning. She's working it.
Well, Ronnie, after the steak dinner the other night, dessert, I swear they had 50 different king cakes there. I mean, just king cakes for tables for 20 yards. That was the dessert the other night, and there wasn't much left.
I wasn't able to go. I was over at Ascension Catholic High School. Did the auction, 72 live auction items, Tommy. I was moving through them. 72 live auction items over at Ascension Catholic. We helped raise over $50,000 for the school, for the church.
Huh?
In Donaldsonville. So my throat was a little raspy.
I'm surprised you. I mean, you should have called me and said we can't do sports shorts daily today.
But anyway, yeah. So Troy LaBeouf and the gang. It was good to be over there. I saw Jason Williams was there.
Good.
He
does a lot of work with their baseball program.
Yeah. J-Dub. So you need to get on this, Tommy. You're a big J-Dub bought an auction item. Don Seafood donated a 10-person crawfish boil. They're going to give you all the crawfish and whatnot for 10 people. So you need to get the invite on that one.
Yeah, no, I'm texting J-Dub this morning. See, because he owes me one. I slid him a few basketball tickets a couple of weeks ago, so I think I'm gonna get in on that crawfish bowl.
There you go. All right, TK. Well, we'll be back on Thursday.
Thursday, Core Street Cafe in Port Allen. Friday, back here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. And Hold the Rope Radio go back to Sunday night starting next week as the baseball Tigers. We'll talk a lot about it Thursday. They get underway this weekend against the Maine Black Bears at Alec Box Stadium, Skip Bertman Field.
By the way, very congratulations to Andrew Whitworth. He's going to retire. We know that. 16 years or so in the NFL. Joe Burrow eligible 3 years once he retires. 3 years after. So,
after he retires,
for example, Eli Manning will be on the ballot in 2023. So I'm sure Eli Manning will be inducted in 2023, and Drew Brees in 2024 will be going into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. So. No doubt Joe will be in there. Actually, we're working on – this is really cool, Tommy. We're working on a Heisman Trophy display case. There's 4 people from the state of Louisiana, Crow, who was at A&M, Smith, who was at Alabama, and, of course, Cannon and Burrow that are at LSU. Those 4, we're going to have this really cool Heisman Trophy display going to be unveiled sometime in March, April. And we'll actually, on an annual basis, have the Heisman Trophy on display in the summertime, June and July every year for around our Hall of Fame induction. We're going to have it come up for the Cannons are going to donate it. A little known fact about the Heisman Trophy that Billy Cannon has that's on display most of the year over at TJ Ribs on Acadian. When Billy Cannon won the Heisman Trophy, it was the 25th anniversary of the Heisman. He has the only Heisman that is made of sterling silver. The only Heisman Trophy that is made of sterling silver to celebrate the 25th anniversary. He's the only one. So it's the most expensive Heisman Trophy that there is. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, real cool.
All right, tell us about Tremonti's.
Yeah, Tremonti's Meat and Seafood Chicken Fried Steak is your lunch special today. They got a bunch of wine if you need a little last-minute Valentine's Day thing. Got plenty of steaks, the Chapman preserved meats. All the cases, refrigerated and frozen, are full. Come pick up some stuff at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. That little cold snap last week has had an effect on the crawfish supply. So we'll keep you posted on that. They'll keep you posted at Facebook and Instagram. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway, right down the block from Parkview Baptist Church and School. You can't miss it. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Check it out.
All right, Tommy, we'll see you on Thursday. Sports Shorts Daily will return then. Until then, have a great one, everybody. And congratulations to Andrew Whitworth, OBJ, the Rams for winning that Super Bowl. How about their coach, only 36 years old? Wonder how many more of those he's going to get in his coaching career. We'll see you on Thursday, everybody. Thanks to LeBear's Casino, and thanks for watching Sports Shorts Daily.